What's up, New Life Church? It's Pastor Ryan, and I'm here with Pastor Ellis and Brook Benton, and we've got a very exciting announcement for you. So we're really excited about a new adventure to send one of our own into the world of church planting, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to be sending Pastor Ellis and Brook out to plant a church in Brandon, Florida in 2021. And I want to give you just a little bit of the background of how we came to this place. Back in the early part of 2020, we began the services for the preview services for a launch of our West Campus. And during that time, we were unable to use facilities and to get that campus up off the ground. Everything had been pulled back in, and we made a decision in July to pull West Campus back in and to kind of restructure our efforts. But we never lost sight of the goal of being a church that plants churches. So, but tell us about your journey for church planting.
Yeah. Well, like for us, I mean, I think we came to the conclusion that we were going to plant a church several years ago, probably our first year in full-time ministry. Yeah. I remember I was at one of our district assemblies. I remember there was this guy who planted a church in Portland, and he kind of told his story, and it was a story of victory, but a story of like hard work and tenacity. And I remember just getting so hyped up about his story. But that's kind of, I remember going home and talking to Brooke and saying, man, I really feel like we're supposed to plant a church now. And she thought that was kind of funny because
I kind of got excited because I was saved in a church that planted churches, and so I always envisioned that I was going to be a part of a church plant. I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know I was going to be married to the lead pastor of that church plant. But
there's a cool story that I want to share with everybody about how we were sitting in Kaleidoscope Pizza, and we were just having a quick meeting, and there was that awkward moment where where like two people are both thinking the same thing, but they don't know for sure. And I think you were like, hey, I think I'm called to plant. I'm like, I think you're called to plant. And we just knew that that God was working in that. And I know that we didn't have all the details at that point, but talk us through the journey of how you figured out Brandon, Florida.
I never ever wanted to move to Florida. So I was like begging God for it not to happen. And meanwhile, talking to some other district superintendents on other districts that I wanted to plant on and always felt kind of a pull to. And at the end of the day, a lot of that, like I wanted to plant in Washington or maybe somewhere else in Oregon or Colorado or somewhere cool like that where I could, ride my mountain bike, still be in the mountains and stuff like that. But it all came down to personal preference for me. But what really sold us on going and being a part of what the Florida district is doing is just the agreement on model. And I mean, when it comes to church planting, there's thousands of ways that you could plant a church, and there is definitely a compatibility with the way that I believe God's calling us to plant and how the Florida district is wanting to plant churches and how Pastor Dale kind of sees church planting as well. So there was just a real synergy there that like helped us make that decision. And so and then after we were doing research and stuff like that, it became really evident to us that we were supposed to do that and go plant in Florida and in Brandon specifically. So
for those of you who may be wondering, Dale and I are great friends and are still great friends. This was a partnership opportunity. We had a conversation, and as he and I talked about it, even we could just see that God has His hands all over this.
God has done something in us, and New Life has parented that and has fostered that in our calling. And so there is no competition. There is no stealing. We are one for the kingdom. That's what's beautiful about being a part of a denomination. And it's like, I mean, for those of you who've sent your kids off after high school, whether you sent them to a career or college or the military or whatever, there's a pride there that you should be proud of your kids. Like, I am a child of New Life in a lot of ways. I've grown up here. I love this church. This is my home church. And the parenting and development that New Life has done in my life and in our lives as pastors and in our marriage, and we would not be here without New Life. So there's a great gratitude and a desire for partnership in the future.
When it comes to church planting, so a win for the sent church is a win for the sending church.
That's right.
Because we're all a part of the same kingdom. By the way, what's the name of the church?
So the name of our church is Just Church. There's a couple of things behind that. First is that's kind of like Brooke and I's culture that we hope to embody. Like, we are just I feel like we're just kind of those like just average people. Like we're not the most hipster, we're not the coolest, we're just people who love people, and that's kind of the culture we want to embody with Just Church. No gimmicks, no hoops to jump through, no political agendas, just the gospel of Jesus Christ, Just Church. As well as one of my life verses that has guided me since I was in high school is Micah 6:8, is to act justly, love mercy, walk humbly. And so we largely are again we have the DNA of New Life, and New Life is a just church. New Life has really put that in our hearts as well. So that's just really informed kind of the church we want to have. So it's Just Church.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, the number one way that you can support Just Church is pray for them every day as they begin developing this plan and already are having conversations. And the other way you can partner is by participating in our Christmas offering, so that we can allocate a portion of that to send them out. As well as getting on their newsletter. Yeah. And so we'll have details in the video description so you can get connected to them, I'm guessing, for their newsletter. Just keep updated. And then finally, blow up their Facebook and Instagram with encouragements. Send them cards. You can send them to the church office. We'll make sure that it gets into their mailbox. But we just want to continue to support them and to support the movement of church planting, and to be able to celebrate just already ahead of time all the people we know who are going to come to know Jesus for the first time, people who are going to make key decisions in their life to follow Jesus, as well as new churches that'll pop up out of this church. And so we're very excited about this. New Life, I just want to close by saying thank you for being a church that supports church planting. Thank you for being a church that gets it, that it's not about hoarding, it's about sending. We don't hoard people, we don't hoard resources, we send people and we send resources. And because of that attitude that you have and that value that you have, we're able to advance the kingdom of God today. So God bless you.
It's good.
We'll see you online.